On today's Apple Daily, we are answering your questions about WWDC, but first, Xcode 13 Beta is telling us that there are new Xeon Mac Pros on the way. I'm iCave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. But yes, first things first, we have Xcode 13 Beta has references to IceLake generation Xeon chips, which can pretty much only mean Mac Pro. Now, we have heard already rumours that the Mac Pro was going to be one of the last things to get another update. I didn't think we were going to get any more Intel ones, to be honest. And then just recently we heard all these rumours, and it made sense to me that if they were going to bring anything out, it would be this one. And I'm just really hoping that even though they're bringing this out, that the M1X will kind of almost rival it. I don't think it'll be quite as quick as this Xeon Ice Lake processor. However, we don't know how many cores we're going to have. We don't know what the, we don't know what the setup's going to be. I'm sure you can spec it out to be faster, but it's going to cost you. So, a question for you. Do you think there is any reason you should buy an Intel Mac at this point? Would you drop, like, big money to get a Xeon Mac Pro when we know that Apple Silicon versions are around the corner and probably going to perform better? I would guess it's only if you've got a Windows workflow that you need. But as I say, today is all about answering your questions, so let's get into the iCave answers. Sander Hoogeland asks, have you tried spatial audio for Apple Music? If so, what do you think? I have, and turns out it's pretty awesome. I've got to say, I was not expecting it to make such a big difference, but Apple has got, if you go to the search button at the bottom of Apple Music on your iPhone, the first little box that pops up on the top right of your screen will be spatial audio. You click into that, they've got a playlist of kind of a whole bunch of spatial audio optimized stuff, and the first track on there, I believe, is Marvin Gaye, and you get Zane Lowe speaking over it, telling you, right, we're going to do mono to begin with, and then we're going to go to what became the kind of stereo standard in like the late 70s. And then we go into spatial audio. And you can hear the difference as we go through. And I've got to say, my jaw dropped. I was really, really impressed with it. The way that it moves around you. But it's not obtrusively. It's just, it actually feels like the whole room has stuff around you. It's very strange when it's literally just 2 points that can generate the sound. But I believe they use out-of-phase audio to make it sound like stuff's behind you, things like that. I'm not 100% sure of all the technology behind it. I just know that it's really pretty awesome. Rico The MLG PRO asks, iCave answers, is it possible to overclock an M1/M1X? Now, whenever anyone asks me if something is impossible or can never happen, these are always the questions that I find the hardest to answer, because there will always be a way. Whether it is worth the hassle, another matter entirely. But let's bear in mind that these M1 and M1X chips that we haven't even seen yet don't have what you would expect from a Windows computer, from an Intel chip or an AMD chip. And even with those, there's only some that you can overclock. But these don't have BIOS, like a BIOS that you can access, at least as far as I'm aware. I don't think you can go into anything and change voltages that are going through the board. I don't think you can change much of that kind of stuff. Everything with the Macs, and especially now that we're into Apple Silicon Macs, is very locked down. There's very little that you can access, and that's probably for the best, because people will mess with stuff if they can mess with it, and then they'll be all sad when it doesn't work anymore. So no, I don't think you can. I would never rule it out, but I don't think it's worthwhile to try. A Hughes asks, iCave answers, I agree. Mini-LED display production delays, as reported by DigiTimes, are likely to be the reason that we didn't get the MacBook Pros yesterday at WWDC. However, previously had reports from Nikkei Asia that M1X chip production was on schedule in May and ready to ship in July. Also, Mark Gurman had said yesterday that his prediction of summer 2021 is still good, as that means anytime after June 21st, according to him. So, assuming Apple will still release M2 in October and November, what is the latest you think they can release the M1X powered products to avoid backing into the autumn end of the year release schedule? Okay, so I don't think that they're going to push it all the way to the autumn, which I've seen a lot of people saying online, but they don't seem to have any kind of anything to back that up at all. I completely understand that I'm saying this as a person that definitely thought they were coming out on Monday. However, when we look at why we thought it was coming out on Monday, it wasn't because John Prosser said so. That's not why we thought it. It definitely helped, but we also were looking at leaks of the battery specs that had been registered with the Chinese regulators. We looked at, if you look back, there's people that were talking about leaked performance benchmarks in March for M1X. And at the time, I'd put out a video that said, no, this isn't the case. I don't think this is real. The numbers are too kind of perfect. Doubling the cores wouldn't exactly double the performance. But people, okay, Max Tech, pulled up my thumbnail as an example of, no, this guy has got it wrong. He doesn't think it's real, but it's clearly real. Yeah, they also said it had got 12 cores and 4 of them were efficiency cores, and we kind of now know that that's not what's going to happen. So I think I was right to say that that was fake. However, the reasons that we thought it was coming, as I say, the regulatory stuff, the leaked schematics that we'd seen, the fact that those schematics kind of were leaked by Guoming Chi much beforehand, and then kind of confirmed by those leaks from Quantum Computer. So it all made sense that it was all lining up. And as you say, the M1X chips went into production earlier. Now, that doesn't mean that the M1X chips aren't ready. It might just mean that they're waiting on the displays, as we said yesterday. And it's not particularly due to chip shortages. It's to do with it being its own kind of new-ish technology. I know that there are mini-LED TVs and things out there, but this is a much kind of tighter packed display. So there are probably production issues with that kind of thing. So I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. In terms of the latest that we can do it, I would say probably August. September is fine. It's going to be October before we see any more Macs with the M2s, I would assume. That seems to be when other people have mentioned them. So, I would say like middle of August, probably. Extreme Effects asks, iCave answers, do you think that the new MacBook Pro 14 and 16 will get the new Pro colours like the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max? Now this is interesting. We've had renders done with Apple Tomorrow on Twitter, because I thought, yes, that would be really cool, and I think it would be really cool if Apple took the design direction further in that way for the Pros than they have done already, and by that I mean materials. Right now, Pro iPhone means you get a stainless steel body. I'm pretty convinced that if Apple does go to a glass back for the iPad Pros, which we've heard rumours about, that they might be going to wireless charging, then they will also use a stainless steel frame for that, because stainless steel is a lot stiffer than aluminium, and if you're taking a lot of aluminium out and putting in 2 glass panels, you don't want that iPad to flex. And I think the same goes with the Pro laptops. I think the Pro material is now stainless steel, so it would be awesome if they had a stainless steel band and maybe had glass inserts again, or if the other thing that we'd heard a lot about was titanium, and titanium is lighter than steel and stronger for its weight than aluminium, so that's a really good middle ground, and they could potentially do some colour options with that, because we've also seen that Apple has patented some ways of injecting dye into the surface and then covering it with, I think, polymer that kind of protects that finish. So that's another possibility. It could be a titanium, it could be a stainless steel. I think that the colours should come to MacBook Pros as well, maybe not as garish in terms of the colour range, but yes, a lot more like what we get with the Pro iPhones. Evan Rogers asks, since all the prognosticators were wrong about the new Apple hardware, when do you think we will get a MacBook Pro special event announcement? So, as we think, we might be looking at Tuesday the 20th of July for this, then probably Tuesday the 13th of July. It's normally a week in advance, I believe, and that would make all the sense in the world to me. Alan B Unboxings and News IK answers, are we going to have a July Apple event in 2021? Now, as I say, we don't know, but that July the 20th date does seem to be the one that's bouncing around, and has been mentioned to me before, sits on a Tuesday. It's far enough away from both of the other events that would be around it, so that would be my bet if we're going to get one. I don't honestly know. People have said maybe it'll come in a press release. I don't really think that's going to be the case, because it makes far more sense for a new design with a new processor and all the rest of that comes along with a brand new MacBook Pro style, that you would get a completely, it needs an event. It needs to be presented properly as an event. Team Kinetics, IK answers, given that iPad 15 was as disappointing as expected, and Universal Control looks to set the iPad as a Mac accessory rather than a Mac alternative, could you speculate on why the 16GB RAM version of the iPad Pro needs to exist? Apple just saved me hundreds of pounds and I'll now get the 8GB version. So I still think that the reason that it exists is for the Pro apps. I just don't think they're here yet. I think they'll be here in September because they're a standalone app, and if it's going to be a paid app as well rather than something built in, that is when this sort of thing will just come out at an event. It will go on sale. App developers all the time put out apps without having to go through a public beta. I don't see why Apple would need to. Final Cut, Logic will both be able to take advantage of that extra RAM. The RAM cap that is 5GB at the moment, I don't think that that's going to apply in iOS 15. Although if anyone out there is a developer and knows the answer to that because of the sessions that are going on right now, then please let me know. But I don't see why they would keep that cap when they have got up to 16 gigs. It just means you can do more layers in Procreate. It means you can do more streams of video in LumaFusion or in iMovie. It just gives you the extra flexibility to do a bit more. Alright, Drip7 asks, when do you anticipate the new Pro level 14-inch and 16-inch Macs come out? If it's not until October, November, do you see Apple skipping the M1 generation and putting a higher core M2X into these machines? I don't think they'd roll out more M1/A14 based systems once the A15 is released in September, as this would effectively be the last generation silicon in a higher tier Mac. What are your thoughts? So yeah, there is a little bit of confusion here. I'm pretty sure that they're going to be coming out before the A15s are around. Even so though, the M1 is basically the fastest single core performance that you can find on the market right now. 1720 points on Geekbench just on single core. So I don't think it's going to make any difference if they put an 8-core version of that into a MacBook at the same time that they bring out an M2 MacBook. It would confuse people, but it wouldn't be an issue in terms of performance, because the M1X is probably going to be about 80 to 90% faster than the M1, whereas the M2 is going to be about 20% faster. It's not designed for speed, the M2. It's going to be designed for the efficiency, again, as we've had in the past. But all that being said, I still think it's going to be coming out in probably next month. Nick Felstead asks, IK answers, do you think that the new redesigned MacBook Pros will be based off the A15 node? The A14 will be pretty old if the M1X is based off the M1, i.e. A14 node. No, because the chips have already been made. We've kind of covered this already, but the chips, the M1X chips, are already done. It's not a case of they're waiting to get A15 generation into here. Also, the node for it is still going to be 5nm. It's still going to be 5nm plus, and it's going to be maybe 4nm next year. That's what we're hearing. So no, it's not going to change node as far as we know. It wouldn't make sense to, because they've already built these chips as far as we know as well, and they will be based off the A14 cores. You're just going to get a lot more of the performance ones. Andrew Hornback, Dave, bet you a pint of your choice at the pub that the new MacBook Pro systems will be announced in July for immediate orders. They'll ship with Monterey, and they'll be delivered 1 to 2 weeks ahead of when Monterey becomes publicly available for everyone with existing systems. Call it an early adopter tax. If consumers want the new capabilities first, they'll buy a system to get them. There really was a lot of great tech announced today. I'm concerned with the whole replace your wallet with a phone direction. What's your take? So first of all, if anyone actually wants to get the features from macOS 12, they can do it for free anyway with the macOS beta program. And beta is the issue here. So if you were to release a MacBook and give it Monterey early, you have to remember that Monterey isn't finished, and that's the whole reason that they announce it now, and then they bring it out for developers to use it and identify all the bugs in it, and then later on, when it's kind of as cleaned up as it can be within the time frame that they have, then it gets released to the public. So if new MacBook Pros do come out before September, October time, they will be running Big Sur. I'm 100% certain of that. That's not something that I would have in question at all. And if people do want to get those features, they don't need to buy a new Mac for it. They just download the public beta. To your second half with the replace your wallet with an iPhone direction, I'm not sure what the concern is with it. I mean, I guess the main thing would be if your battery runs out, but if this is your keys, your ID, and everything else, then I think it would be important to probably have a battery pack available. But all that being said, as I say, I don't know what the problem is that you've got in mind for replacing your wallet with an iPhone. I haven't carried a wallet for a couple of years. It's worked for me so far. Just a Passerby asks, iCave answers, since apparently only leaker Love to Dream, who is secretly probably Craig Federici, predicted no hardware, do you think we'll get a Mac event before the iPhone reveal in the fall? Feel like we have covered this, but everyone seems to be the same mindset. Will we get our new Macs before the iPhone reveals in September time? I do really hope so. I think it makes sense that it would. I don't think it makes sense to hold on to it until the M2s are coming as well. I honestly do think we will get it. And thus ends the lesson. Thank you all so much for joining me today. If you've got a question, hashtag iCaveAnswers down in the comments section. Don't forget, the t-shirt is still available. Ping! There it is. And it is only available until Friday, midnight in the UK Friday. That's when it will disappear from the website. So get your orders in. Get them in now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and capacitively touch the like button on your way out. Thank you. Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Bye.